Now we're getting ready to go live and stream our meeting. Special thanks to our resource and streaming partners that are carrying this broadcast this evening. And so it is the first of many meetings to kick off the 2022 campaign. I'm excited. Are you excited? Let's go. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm Shadidi Laser, by the way, co-founder of this Baltimore SharePoint users group experience. And so I'm going to go into a few slides here as I share my screen before we welcome our rock star presenter this evening. And so going to presentation mode. Okay, so we say, what is Baltimore SharePoint Users Group? Now, keep in mind that the group has been around for quite some time. And so I'll tell the story. Anytime there's a new face or a new attendee, I always have to tell the story again. Nancy and Michael can tell the story verbatim, backwards and forwards, I'm sure. But Baltimore SharePoint started right during the launch of MOS 2007. And so the story goes, we were working, and by we, I mean co-founder Eric Harlan and I were working at a company that chose to position itself as an early adopter of MOS 2007. So this wasn't the standard out-of-the-box implementations that were the norm during that time. This is feature stapling, and we want the My Sites to have our, let's say, custom links here and have this in the footer, so on and so forth. And at the time, there were no, or let's say the community of information, whether it was TechNet or otherwise, the Twitter sphere didn't exist during that time. So smaller communities were where you would find your information. And so we decided that we needed to create ours. Now, at the time, I was living in Baltimore, but I was commuting to the SharePoint users group of DC, which at the time, although it says DC, was meeting in, what was it, Dulles in Northern Virginia. And so the commuting after work started to get a bit old. And so why not meet locally and build a community around that? We did not know what was going to happen during that fateful summer in 2007, but over time, we've had monthly meetings, and it could be the most consistent thing I've ever done in my life, because every third Thursday, we've had a meeting since 2007. And so the only time we don't have a meeting every third Thursday is on the third Saturday, which is the SharePoint Saturday Baltimore event, which is the one-day conference that we host, and Prashant's on the call. And so it's kind of like a family reunion of sorts. And so that is the Baltimore SharePoint story. And so I sat down with a business coach one day. He was intrigued with this whole Bespoke. And so we started to quantify. And so there's been over 1,600 Microsoft professionals who, let's say, got their start as speakers, went through training, certifications, jobs, so on and so forth. And so it's become a Saturday Night Live of sorts. And what I mean by that analogy is that Saturday Night Live, if you're Eddie Murphy, if you're Chris Rock, for example, this is the place where you have your proving ground in order to go to the big leagues. And so several MVPs from our region have delivered their first sessions at Baltimore SharePoint. Something I'm very proud to continue on and be a part of. And so the number as we go into 2022 is actually 6 Microsoft practices have started within our membership. 3 of them are Microsoft Gold partners. So it's the ultimate full circle moment where a member of Baltimore SPUG may have been, let's say, laid off, for example, and that person decided, okay, this is my opportunity to start something. And so they, in one case, paired up with 2 other members of the user group and started a firm. And that firm went on to be a platinum sponsor of SharePoint Saturday Baltimore. So that's the ultimate full circle moment, and something, again, that I'm very, very proud of. And so on we go into 2022, and it's going to be an exciting journey. Okay, moving along here. Let's see. Special thanks to the good folks at ProObject. Now, prior to our remote life, we have held our meetings right around the corner from the Maryland Live Casino in Anne Arundel County at a company called ProObject. Now, ProObject was rated as one of the top 100 places to work in the great state of Maryland. They have opportunities galore. Some of them are system engineer positions. Some of them are developer positions. All of them have some intersection with, let's say, the Microsoft 365 platform. And so if you are in between positions or looking for new opportunities to match the goals on your vision board, then your next step is to contact the Theodore Ted Staley at tmstaley@proobject.com, and he will help you find your next opportunity with them. Thank you for your support, ProObject. Moving along. Okay, now, there's a lot going on in the world. I'm not going to turn into the Surgeon General and give you the medical report, but all I can talk about is its impact on our members. And so the Bespoke golden rule goes like this. Whether you are self-employed, you're working with some clients, or let's say you're full-time employed and you worked at a company, or you're unemployed, meaning you're searching for jobs all day. If you arrived here at this meeting, you're coming from somewhere, and what this indicates is that you have a above and beyond mentality. And so most people who join user groups, who are regular attendants of user groups, tend to, let's say, learn faster, have, let's say, career trajectories that is higher than someone who doesn't. And so if you are out of work, or let's say things are happening on your contract where it's leading to uncertainty, it is my belief that we should help you get back to work as soon as possible. And so I have a hidden talent in that for 20 years of my life, I've operated a technical writing / resume company. And if you are of uncertain, out of work, so on and so forth, offering free resume, LinkedIn career review sessions for any Baltimore SharePoint user group member, which means if you've attended one SharePoint Saturday event, one Baltimore SPUG event, then you have the opportunity to receive a free critique, either from myself directly or from a member of the team. It is complimentary. There will be no hidden costs that comes your way 2 years from now, just to make sure that we're making sure that you stay afloat during these times. It's very important to me. So through March 1st, 2022, that is available to you. Now, for those of you who during this time of uncertainty, let's say the great resignation, career shifts, you have decided that you want to take your skills and go into self-employment of some sort. Maybe, let's say in my case, there were huge corp to corp opportunities years ago when I decided to become self-employed that were very appealing to me. And so for many of us who are technical, the day-to-day technical skills are taken care of. But when it comes to building a business around it, the technical skills, most of us struggle with that. And most of us go through a period of trying to figure it out. And then a period after that where we say, well, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. So this is the opportunity for you to do it differently. And so SCORE is based in Greater Baltimore. So if you're familiar with the state of Maryland, SCORE Greater Baltimore provides support from Howard County over to Hartford County and all points in between. So what this allows you to get is access to business planning, sales projections, loan assistance, grant writing, free of charge. It's a government service provided by the Small Business Administration, which is the governing body of small business in the United States of America. And so if you go to the website, greaterbaltimore.score.org, you will gain access to the ability to select a certified business mentor. These are not people who just coming off the street. It's a rigorous application process, and each mentor is required to complete an annual code of ethics. So if they work with you under, let's say, underscore, they cannot offer you additional services under their business. For example, it's a fully volunteer service, but each mentor is trained and certified to help business owners. Call for speakers. And so the way this works is speaking is a positive addiction in that many speakers, again, I've seen every presentation since 2007 for Baltimore SharePoint. And oftentimes, if I think of some of the legends who have started at the group, it often starts with extreme nervousness. You get through it. No one has ever had a heart attack during a presentation. That's the secret. You may be nervous, palms may be sweaty, you may stutter a bit, but you get through it. And you always wish you delivered something else. I wish I said this or said that. But once you make it through it, then you start to look and see, well, what other user groups can I speak at? What conference can I speak at? Where can I do here? And that's what we're looking to cultivate, our new, to replenish the community that has helped us stay afloat. And so a presentation does not have to be the 60 to 75-minute session that the great LaBrina Loving is about to deliver. If you have a break fix, meaning this is what happened and this is what I did to troubleshoot it, I'd like to share this. Or let's say you have a presentation that you're looking to bring to the big leagues. I personally believe and have been told by speakers that our audience is one of the best in just having warm support for a new concept or new idea. We give feedback and we're very constructive if you ask for it. Or if you want to share a lesson learned, meaning we deployed this instance or this tenant and this is what we learned from it, the door is open for you to present. And so what people don't often realize is that I will help you to put together your first presentation. I've seen them all. And my job is to make sure that no one throws tomatoes at you, especially virtually, because that will require a lot of talent and coordination. So please get in contact with me if you have a topic that you'd like to deliver to Baltimore SharePoint. Next month, we have the great Prashant Boyer delivering a session. So that's what we're looking to do. So fill our calendar with a variety of speakers so that we all learn new things. If you want me to speak every month, I'm happy to do it, but I find it more valuable for the community to share its collective voice. Now, for our featured presentation, I bring to you Microsoft's own LaBrina Loving. She'll be sharing building bots with Power Virtual Agents. I will unshare my screen. If you have any questions during this presentation, please use the chat and let's get this show on the road. LaBrina.
Hey.
Come on down.
Hey, everyone. So first off, thank you, Shadid, for that amazing introduction. And let me share my screen. Where's the share button?
Right at the bottom, in the footer.
Yeah.
Next to raise hand.
Oh, so I don't see that. Hold on.
Give me one moment. One moment. I got you. Give it a moment. Give it a moment. And then let's see. Okay.
Okay. Oh, there I am. Okay. Okay. So let me share my screen now. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, now it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Hold on. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
That's good too. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna put this over here for now. So first off, thank you for not only do you host the best SharePoint user group around, you basically have the best introduction ever. So
thank you.
Thank you for that. As Jean mentioned, my name is LaBrina Loving, and today I'm going to be talking about building bots with PowerApps Virtual Agent. I've actually, it's funny you mentioned this user group and how it launched some careers. This is actually the first user group, SharePoint conference that I went to and I volunteered at. And I saw all the speakers. I did not speak at this conference, but it did launch me into speaking at many other conferences. So the proof, as my grandmother said, the proof has been in the pudding. So thank you for that. So just a little bit about myself before I get started. Like everyone, I live and work in the same place. So I'm out of Clarksburg, Maryland. I've been doing this for a really long time now. It's kind of interesting to think about adding up the numbers. So I currently do work at Microsoft. I'm mainly focused on the cloud in Azure, and I have a really cool job where I get to work with a lot of ISVs, so independent software vendors, and startups who are building really interesting solutions on our cloud, and help them kind of learn more about cloud, learn how to best optimize and build their solutions. So I'm kind of grooming like the next like Elon Musk's or whatever of the world on Azure. I've been married for 2 years now. So you can see my husband, my stepdaughter, and myself, we got married in Disney World. We got, like, I did have the foresight to get married right before the pandemic. So it actually worked out. And but we did not do our honeymoon before. So still haven't gotten that done yet. But I was mentioning I have a dog, Watson. He's kind of my pair programmer, and often my co-host for a lot of my presentations. So you might hear him adding in his additional commentary. And yeah, I love teaching. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching as well, a lot of working in a lot of STEM organizations. So that's just something I'm super passionate about. So I had been working a lot with a lot of enterprise customers before I got this new role at Microsoft on bots. It's been such a huge tech thing in the enterprise. So how could we now take a lot of the questions that our help desk gets, calls to our service centers, how can we reduce the overhead for all of these things and still provide really good customer experiences and customer service, and instead have have like our customer support teams focus on more higher level problems that people may face. So instead of calling up some desk and ask like, when is how do I fill out this form, or how do I what are your hours for the day, you could actually do that using a bot or a virtual agent. That had been something that I had been working with a lot of organizations for a really long time, because several years ago, Microsoft released the bot framework, which is a full kind of coding solution framework where you can build bots. You could have a developer build the bot. It could integrate and get deployed to a number of places, websites. You could have the bot running in Teams. You could have it running in Facebook and a lot of other places. Very nice. But one of the biggest questions that I got from a lot of the customers that I worked with is that we really want, it's a lot of our business users that understand and own the customer support piece, and they have ideas about virtual agents and bots that they want to build, and it's a really cumbersome process to have to give requirements over to a developer and have them. And so I was actually, right before PowerApps virtual agents got released, I was actually working with a customer to build out this whole framework and interface for exactly what PowerApps virtual agents did. So I'm super excited because it actually saved me a lot of time. But I think what it did was it actually opened up the capabilities for anyone in the enterprise that wants to build a bot that accomplishes a task can do that now. So this is kind of in the past, right? There was this sort of business user has an idea, I want to create a bot, and they sort of hand it off to a developer and the requirements, and then then they get the bot back, right? So they're totally sort of out of the loop in building the bot. But now with PowerApps virtual agents, we've sort of removed that blocker and made the business user an integral part of the developer process. So now we have a solution where a business user can, in a very low code, no code way, build bots. And then they can actually incorporate skills that a professional, the developer, can build, and they can integrate those skills into the bot. So think of it similar to your Alexa or whatever your favorite virtual assistant is. That Alexa has its main thing, but you can incorporate skills that other third-party developers can build and integrate that into it. So a very similar way of thinking. And then it's built on top of all of the great cognitive services that Microsoft offers for language, for speech, for machine learning, for search, and for vision. So all of that is incorporated, but providing you a user interface that that can be done and with low code. And then it also integrates all, because it is built on top of Power Platform, it integrates very well with all of the other Power Platform tools like Power Automate. So you can actually build a bot that leverages, if you have a workflow that you built in something like Power Automate, it can be there. It can be integrated into PowerApps. It can leverage Power BI. So all of those things are very, 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 very tightly coupled. And you can see there's all of the connectors and all of the flows that are made available through Power Automate can be made available through PowerApps virtual agents. And the way that you build virtual agents, there's sort of two paths. So one, you can go through the browser, which I will show, and then there's another way if you are using Teams and you're wanting to build a Teams bot, you could actually build a Teams bot in a low no code way as well, all within Teams. So now we have two ways. The Teams bot is a little bit newer, but the web has been there for quite a while. So let's talk a little bit about what the process is, and I'm going to show this in a little bit, but let's talk about the steps to creating a bot. There is a very simple user interface that you go. You get started creating what are called topics. Topics you can think of as your utterances or what you actually use, the words that you use to invoke something, right? So when you say something like, Alexa, what's the weather going to be today, right? Alexa wakes up to this utterance, like, what is the weather going to be? And then there is logic that she said that she thinks about now and says, okay, this person is asking for this particular command, and maybe it's named like weather or something like that. And then based on that, she pulls from a library of a workflow that happens to execute that command. So it's a very similar process where you will actually think of topics, and then you actually will create, well, what are some sample things that people will say to kind of kick off the spot? You can add all kinds of other things to do it. And then you can integrate the bot with backend, with Flow and other things. And then, as I mentioned, create custom skills. You test, and then you just publish it, and it's all done within the command or within the interface. So today, I'm sure there are Marvel fans out there. So, so today, with all that being included, now we have a complete integrated way that both business users, developers can work together and bring their best skill set to do what we've coined the phrase fusion development together. So I'm like a big Marvel fan, so I try to always bring in some kind of a reference to it in my presentation. So this is really the vision for working on working and building a bot. So as I said before, it's like now this is this kind of collaborative, cohesive working environment. And we'll kind of talk about that. It's sort of separate, but there's collaboration together. And I'll show that a little bit in the demo. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool, yeah. It was, I saw that graphic before, but it was talking about something else. But then I kind of stole it and adapted it for that. So yeah, so yeah, so this is kind of this is like now where we have a complete cohesive team building bots, building things together, and that's really what Power Platform, regardless of the product, is really meant to be. It's meant to be a platform that brings both citizen developers, business users, and pro developers together to accomplish tasks. So kind of no one's left behind in the process. There's no kind of putting things over the wall. So this talks a little bit more about the process. So developers, we all collaborate on an idea. The Power Virtual Agent developer, citizen developer will start building topics, entities, canvas flow, gets an ID, which I'll show. Then the pro developer uses the tools that they know, uses whatever develop language that they know. So C#, JavaScript, Python, builds your skills. You have to build a manifest, which I'll show. You upload that custom skill to integrate, test, verify, and deploy. And then we all celebrate together. So I'm going to start showing a demo of what a bot that I kind of worked on, and kind of show all the steps and the process of building it. So the idea for this demo came from actually a real thing that we've been starting to do in our organization now that we're all virtual. I'm sure that a lot of people have come up with the idea of doing kind of virtual team like lunches or coffee breaks or things like that. So I thought about this would be a cool way to sort of showcase how to do this, leveraging the virtual agent. So I'm going to show you how to build TacoBot. And TacoBot is your friendly bot that will help you arrange a virtual meeting and schedule that meeting in Teams. So so without further ado, let's kind of go through what the demo would look like. So as I mentioned, there's two ways to use to create a bot with a Power Virtual Agents. The first, the Teams is one way, but you can just do it through the browser. So I'm here at web.powerva.microsoft.com. When I log in, you can see I have, you can see this canvas. I could create a new bot. So one thing, environments are basically just a logical separation for for users or for applications. So you could create multiple environments, but so I'm going to create a new bot. I'll just show it's very simple. Create a new bot. You just give it a name. Give it a name, pick your language, and then pick the environment. I'm actually not going to create it because I've got one already done. So as I mentioned before, once you create your bot, you get this kind of landing page where it kind of shows you, okay, here are some things to get started. Here's how you test, here's how you publish. It's got a lot of the docs already here and some videos, which is kind of cool. Okay, so we talked about topics. So as I said, topics is sort of your main flow for your main utterance for kicking off your bot, like for waking your bot up or as you may. And so I've created a topic called schedule a virtual break. You could create a new topic here, does the same thing. So I've created this topic called, let me increase my font, got to do that, called schedule a virtual break. And then underneath this topic, what you would do is you enter what are called trigger phrases. So trigger phrases are what are the different ways that you think someone might ask for this particular skill or for this particular task. And so what I've done is the recommendation is to give at least 10 trigger phrases, because what you're doing is you're training your bot to recognize words and phrases to invoke this particular skill. So I've created like 10 different phrases. You probably should vary them quite a bit, but just sort of I always say do 10 at the minimum. The more the merrier. I also always like to say that your bot it's sort of it's in training and it's learning and growing. It's sort of like a baby. It is your baby, right? So you give it a couple phrases to start out with to teach it. It acquires and grows exponentially as it gets more information, as it runs more. But then there's always a little bit of like course correction that needs to happen over time, right? So, so you just always have to kind of keep that in mind, the process of growing and learning your bot. You can do things like create entities that are associated with it, that are standard, sort of like what I would call nouns. So things like age or color, so that can actually enhance the process for your bot. And then I'm going to show what the one step that I'm going to do to kind of really further enhance our bot is what I want our actual pro developer to do is do the work or create a skill that actually will leverage Microsoft Graph and do some other validation and other things that as a low-code developer, I may not be able to do within the bot, within virtual agents. So I'm going to have my pro developer create a skill. And so you can actually go here and create a skill and upload that skill manifest. So I'm going to show here a little bit of the code that I wrote to do kind of more of the back-end work for scheduling my virtual lunch, right? So if you're not familiar, I'll have links at the end of the presentation on how to get started with using Bot Framework. as a pro code developer, but there's a lot of good guidance on it. But essentially, you're really just creating, you can think of creating a bot for pro code developers is really just creating a web API that has some endpoints on it. So, and you can see that here where I basically just have when it gets started, it basically calls a controller, and here's the route API messages. And then and it calls a post message here. And when that post message starts, I'm going to start my bot off. And this is my bot, taco bot. So just to show a little bit of the code, I know it's a lot, but basically, there's this task called on message activity async, and that sort of kicks off everything. And I've got this step that does fill out my virtual break async. So this is basically creating a conversation flow that's keeping track of where I am in the conversation. And then I'm going to ask a series of questions. So you can see kind of what my conversation flow looks like. So I've got a question. So if you're here, then I'm going to say like, hey, let's get started creating your virtual break. And then I'm going to, after that, then I'm going to say, hey, like, please provide a brief description of your event. And then I keep kind of going down. And then I'm going to ask, like, when do you want to start when do you want your virtual event break to start? And so I've set it up as a start date. And here I've actually can throw in some validation. So I'm validating as well that, person saying things as a date time. And then keep going, ask for the end date. And then keep going, ask at the very end. What I do is I call this code called add virtual break to Teams. And so this is actually where my skill is more interesting, because I'm actually just, and I commented out a bunch of stuff, but I basically am creating using MS Graph, which is sort of the unified interface for interacting with anything in Microsoft 365. So from SharePoint to Teams to Exchange Online, there's this unified interface called Graph. And so I'm using Graph to create what's called an online meeting. I'm using the information that my bot collected, start date and end date, and then using the description. I was kind of playing around with this earlier. So, and then that just creates your online meeting. So very straightforward. This is something that your pro developer will do. So once your pro developer has created this code and created this skill, they will actually deploy that and I'm actually have it deployed to Azure. So it has a URL. And the important part of this is that your developer creates what's called a manifest. And the manifest is just kind of metadata about the bot skill. So you can see I've created this manifest file. It's got some descriptions of it, some tags here for what it can be. And then importantly, it's describing what the endpoint is. So when we're going to upload this manifest or point to this manifest in the virtual agent, And so the important things here is that it describes where the endpoint is. So this is where my bot is going to be hosted. As I said, I've got it hosted in Azure and an app service. And then I have to give it what's called an app registration, which is basically app registration is an identity for my bot in Azure Active Directory. And then once I do that, so that's kind of talking about how do I actually, if anyone who wants to invoke this skill, how do they get to it? And so this information is very important. And then the activities are kind of what the bot does. So this is that information. And so this is actually what our pro developer will be working on their machine. And so they will deploy their bot. We've got it all working. It's great. I can actually show, so if I go here in my website, so if I bring up this website, manifest, you could see this got deployed. You can see this got deployed here. So I'm going to actually leverage this and use this website for my virtual agent here. So when I add my skill, the one thing that you do actually have to do as well, you can think of, so you're adding a manifest to, you're giving the low code developer, your Power Agent, virtual agent developer, the URL to the manifest. In return, they will actually give you their bot ID, and this bot ID you will actually put as a setting in your settings, because basically you want to limit, you don't want really, anyone to be able to call your skill that you've created. So this basically you will put in your allowed callers that says, okay, only bots with these 3 IDs are allowed to call my skill. So it's sort of like a secret handshake between the Power Virtual Agent developer and the kind of pro code developer. I sort of like to think of it that way. Okay, so what I would do is just put in the URL of this manifest or of the manifest, and then it would upload the skill. So you could see I've actually done that here. So one of the things you do have to do is say what the privacy policy is and create one. But you could see it, oh, that's weird. It actually uploaded my manifest. You could see it's the same manifest that I was showing before. And then now that I have this skill, now as a Power Virtual Agent developer, I can now incorporate this skill into my fully working bot. So let's actually see this all working together now. So I've got a full working, I've got my bot set up. So now I'm actually going to edit my bot. Where is my bot? Oh, sorry. Great. So, so I've got my trigger phrases. So now I'm actually going to click on go to authoring canvas. And authoring canvas is where I can actually go and start building out my bot. So the first thing in your authoring canvas is it's going to start with trigger phrases. So it's going to say, basically, anytime someone says one of these trigger phrases in my bot, I'm going to start kicking off this process. So you could actually add different things, and I'll show what this is. But the first thing that I'm going to do is you could add what's called a message. So I could add a message. So I've added this message that says, hey, I'm Taco the bot, and I can help you plan and schedule virtual breaks. Great. Then I want to add a question. So I can ask a question, and there's multiple questions that I could do. So basically, I want to ask a question. I want to say that it's a multiple choice question, because basically what I want to do is ask the user, okay, what type of virtual break do you want to do? So I've asked that question and I've provided these options. You can see there's a lot of different types of questions that I could ask, or choice options I could do. So I'm just using these a multiple choice kind of question. And then what I do is I'm going to save that as a variable called event type. So now, when I added these options, basically it created these conditions, right? So it created a condition for if it's breakfast or coffee, if it's lunch, or if it's a snack, then I'm going to do different things. So I could add another node. So you could see here, there's different, as I build out my workflow or for my bot, there's just different actions I can take. So I could ask a question like it did above. I could ask another clarifying question. I could call an action. And calling an action means that I could either create a flow. So this would actually launch me into Power Automate. So I could kick off like another Power Automate. I could do some authentication, or here, as I said, I can call my skill that my developer called. So I'm going to call my skill, right? Other things I can do, as I said, I can show a message. I can redirect to another topic, right? So sometimes you might think about creating like a megabot, right? That can handle everything from scheduling a virtual office break to showing you your calendar, and those might be in smaller individual bots. So you can get really creative and really modular with the way that you build the bot. Or you could end the conversation and you can end it. You could also do things like transferring to an agent, or end with the survey. So that is pretty much so my action, right? So I wanted to end with this action. So let me go here and just go into my bot again. So now I want to test this. So yeah, so this is actually the process of doing that. So I'm actually going to just refresh my screen, or refresh my bot. So now I'm going to test the bot. So I'm going to test it by entering one of the utterances. So I'm going to say schedule coffee. And so the nice thing is that as I enter my utterance, it's recognized, hey, like you're in this. So I'm going to step you. I'm actually helping you debug your bot. So it did exactly what it said, what I asked it to do, right? So it, I scroll up a little bit. It, did step one. It's like, hey, I recognize this utterance. I'm going to first send a message. So here's the message that is sent. And then here's my next message, is that it says, same message to start. let me know what you want to build. So great, did that. I'm gonna pick lunch. Okay, because that's the one that I did it. Okay, so now it's into my skill, right? So now this is kind of this black box of code that I had on my pro developer build. Okay, and you could see this is the code that we saw before that's in my in my bot. So it says like, let's get started creating your virtual break. And like, what do you want to title it? And so I'm going to say, let's do tacos. Okay, great. So I can provide a description, and this is all part of that skill that my pro developer built. So great, provide a description, eating, and I'm just going to say eating tacos. And then so then I say like, when do you want your virtual break to start? And notice I'm going to say something like tomorrow at noon. And so the code that I wrote actually can handle these kinds of things and interpret that. It will know that tomorrow at noon is 1/21, 2022 at noon. And then, so I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to say tomorrow at 1 p.m. Okay, great. Great. So then it says schedule my virtual break. Now, unfortunately, my the Teams tenant that I was working in, I'm like having some troubles logging in, but this would actually go out and schedule my everything based on my code in my Teams tenant. So this is sort of an end-to-end process, somewhat simplified, but you could see very simple, putting together these steps in a UI, incorporating your skills from your developer, and having like a fully working bot that can be built pretty easily. Other things, as I mentioned, is you could then publish your bot to a number of different places. You can publish it to a website, you could publish it to Slack. So all the channels that were originally supported in our bot framework are also supported here. And then even things like built-in security, how you do authentication are all there. So all very, very simple things to do. And of course, if for SharePoint users, you could use this bot to do all kinds of things in SharePoint through automated, through some of the connectors through Power Automate. So if I wanted to have a bot that created a list item in SharePoint, I could actually have that bot go through and use Power Automate to connect to a SharePoint list and create an item based on using some of the controls and connectors. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's pretty much for our demo. So let's go back to a slide here. So we've gone through this part. Okay, so one of the, so Brad did ask a question. Does the bot recognize typos, or do you have to configure for possible error? So that's part of the kind of AI that's built in that I was talking about in the learning of the bot, right? So no, I don't think that I specifically said, I didn't use a phrase that's exactly like. That was one of my utterances. You could use something similar, and the bot using natural language understanding and AI can do that. So if I mistype, let's like try it, I guess. So, oops. So if I, let's go to my top, let's go back and look at this. And if I were to test it out and like mistype coffee or whatever, it should make that a leap because it's using natural language understanding. So if I go back to my test and restart this, let's actually do, and I'll just do it without any. Yeah, so it knows those things. We could push it a little bit further. And I also did not do anything, right? So you could see I did schedule T and it says it didn't understand that. So, oh, it's also because I'm kind of like in the wrong farm. I have to restart. So if I did like schedule T, let's see if it kind of does that, right? So I did schedule T. That means that I need to kind of broaden my learning of it. So maybe I need to, in my training, in my trigger, I should not just be really specific about coffee or like this. I could start giving it like different food options and it would actually learn a lot faster. But I was probably a little too narrow in the way that I did my like the training for your bot. So one of the things that I always encourage people to do, which is another thing, is when you're creating bots, is to roll it out slowly to a couple people. You can get analytics from your bot on all the phrases everything that happened. So whenever your bot kind of failed, right? So I could incorporate a path in this that says, oh, if the bot's not able to understand, send a message to me so I can understand, like figure out, like, and do some troubleshooting, right? Because it's like error handling. So I could do that. And over time, then as I kind of teach it and it learns more, you will see that it will exponentially get better, right? If I did schedule tea, schedule brownies, schedule, like, it will actually figure out like, oh, like she's talking about some kind of food thing. So then if you were like something like that, it'll actually like grow incrementally and learn like incrementally faster. So really good question. Yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, so on current slide. Yeah, oops, I want to go back here. So one of the things a lot of people ask as well is sort of, when do I use what? So as notorious for Microsoft, we have lots of tools to do lots of things and lots of tools to do the same things. So what do I do? What do I use when? So I kind of put together this this sort of chart that talks through, when to use what, when, right? So if you want to easily create bots, don't want to manage infrastructure and worry about deployment, this is your path. No code platform, this is your path. If you want a fully powerful framework and that developers can fully bake into, that gives you everything, you can use bot framework. It actually cuts across both. Yeah, so there's not really like a UX layer, you create it, so all of that. And then this is where like you can easily extend and use things like cognitive services. So you could do things like doing language translations or vision and all kinds of things like that. So this is like a really good, this is an important thing. So like difference. So, building your own. So the SharePoint Online and Teams. Yeah, so there is a way to bring the bot into SharePoint Online and host it in a SharePoint and a SharePoint site as well. So you would sort of follow the same path as just hosting it in a website. But there's actually, I believe there's a part to actually host a bot. So yeah, that definitely can be done. Yeah, so the one difference that was brought up about the natural language, so you can actually create a natural language, your own natural language models, right? Let's say a good example is in your company, there's we've created a natural language model based on our own training. But let's say a lot of companies have, Microsoft especially has so many acronyms, so many ways of doing things. You might want to create your own model and train it. So that's something that's kind of only available, in a fully baked solution where you're actually going to have to do code. So this is actually a really good example of how to sort of use both and when to use both when. Okay, because I am a big believer of giving people homework. But if you do want to get more information about building bots with Power Virtual Agent, you can go and look at building skills. You can start with our resources for Power Virtual Agents. Just go, as I said, go to powerva.microsoft.com, start building your bot. And then I do, if you go out to the licensing site, it kind of covers some of the licensing. I am not a licensing expert, so I always just refer people to the site. And then, yeah, that is pretty much so it. I have Hulk smashed this. Any other questions? I tried to answer questions while we were in the moment, and there were some really good questions, so I appreciate all those. Any other questions that people may have? I will take silence as no. Yeah, I don't know. Steve, are you out there?
Yes. Okay. Are there any questions for LaBrina?
Thank you.
See, I'm just going through the chat.
Yeah, I think I saw most of them. I tried to answer them.
Any feedback? So if you have feedback for LaBrina, also leave it in the chat as well. Sherry Bradford says, I can't wait to try my hand at this.
Oh, I cannot wait for you to do it. Thank you, Sherry.
Can we connect with you on LinkedIn? Christine has asked.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my name. Yeah, just you could search my name. You should be able to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people, so feel free to reach out. I should have. That is one thing I'm bad on me. I didn't put all my ways to connect, but yeah, if you search out my name or what am I? I'm pretty sure I'm all pretty much so everything with me is Chicks Can Code. So so Twitter, Chicks Can Code, yeah, everything that's my brand. So feel free to reach out to me.
Any other questions or feedback?
Well, yeah, thank you. And under 8, so I still have time to get Chick-fil-A, which is not the power of persuasion.
Hey.
I wasn't even
Hint,
thinking
hint,
about it.
hint, hint. Chick-fil-A is still open, sir. Still open.
Yeah, power of persuasion. I think that is my next stop after this.
Yes. So yes, it was a great session. Good mix of best practices as well as the demos. So it was complete expression of the idea. So it picked up a lot of good insight.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I thank you. First off, thank you for having me. It's been good. It's been a while, so I appreciate having the opportunity to present.
Absolutely. So Rick has said, great presentation and relating it to the utterance in Alexa.
Yeah. That's actually that's usually the best way that I try to explain to people what bots are and how to really get started. And you can think of it, I know a lot of people, I like to also call bots as sort of just another presentation layer. It's just invisible to you. So everyone's familiar with going to a website or a website to get information and do things, or a mobile app to get information and do things. So now you have a bot that's sort of another kind of interface or for you to do things. So a lot of companies that I work with, they actually just take a lot of what their business logic, right? So if you're filling out a form for whatever on a web application, you can take, and then that form saves information in a database or does a bunch of other processes in the back end. All that back end stuff doesn't change. The only difference is instead of having a form, now you have a bot. So you just kind of, so a lot of times customers see that, and now it becomes a lot simpler because now you kind of created another avenue or way for your customers to interact with your company, right? And in a nice way. So yeah, great question, or great comment.
It's a great way to look at it. Okay. On behalf of LaBrina Loving, this has been another great Baltimore SharePoint Users Group meeting. Join us next month as the Prashant G. Boyer will be scheduled to deliver his magic to the group. So looking forward to that. And recording will be sent out through the email list. We'll also post it on the meetup group as well within the comments. And if you can't find it in those locations, just send me a text message and make sure you have it. Okay, it's been another great session. Logging out for the evening. Thank you for joining.
All right, take care. Heading to Chick-fil-A now.
Yes,
Bye.
very important.